baik tu dia jadi beratahu रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Yanavanaka, Fiji. In this bulletin, border quarantine case proves COVID positive. Medical supplies to boost healthcare services, and radio program to boost COVID-19 resilience.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Smith.
Fiji confirmed a new case of coronavirus related to a recent travel from India yesterday. This is a border quarantine case, which was identified and securely contained by stringent border protection protocols, say health officials. The man who returned from India was in his mandatory 14-day quarantine when he developed COVID-like symptoms. Koroi Tandalala reports the man is in isolation at the Nandi hospital.
Being checked every day for symptoms and temperature.
The man returned from a medical procedure with his son and was traveling with 107 other passengers on the flight that made a stopover at Indonesia before flying to Fiji.
On the 4th of July, Ministry of Health and Medical Services personnel detected COVID-like symptoms in a 66-year-old man who had returned from India. He had gone to India for medical procedures and was detected to have symptoms on day 3 of his mandatory 14-day quarantine period. He tested and registered a positive COVID-19 test result last night.
The Ministry of Health says this new COVID-19 case is classified as a border quarantine case, and both the man and his son are now in isolation at the Nandi hospital.
He's not displaying any symptoms. Regardless, we have tested him with results expected tomorrow. This latest case is why we have been careful not to label Fiji as COVID-free. We believe that as long as a nation welcomes back its own citizens, it cannot reliably claim itself free of the virus.
Anyone coming from India to Fiji needs to be tested before they get on the plane. That's because we designate that as a high-risk country. However, you do get tested a few days before you actually board the plane. So two things can happen. One is that you could have the virus in your body already, but have not enough, the levels of the virus may not be high enough for the test to detect the virus. The other thing is from the time your sample is taken to get tested, there are a few days where the people are still in India.
The Ministry of Health says they cannot rely completely on COVID-19 testing to determine passengers' COVID status, and it's critical for them to closely monitor those in quarantine for any development of symptoms. All other 107 passengers on the flight have been tested for the virus. Koroi Tandalala, FBC News.
United States non-profit medical supplies EqualMed yesterday donated over $1 million medical supplies and equipment to boost health services in Fiji. Health Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wanganambete, while receiving the supplies, acknowledged the organization for its ongoing support and contribution, particularly in these trying times. The supplies will assist the services that are normally rendered by Diabetes Fiji and the inclusion of certain COVID-19 protective gear.
I think I'm very happy with this is that they've also put in a significant contribution towards our personal protective equipment for COVID-19. And they've done this noting that the challenges of COVID-19 around the world. So because of that, we are very grateful to them.
The Ministry of Health, in partnership with its stakeholders, launched its Healthcare on Air yesterday to help build capacity and resilience in the wake of COVID-19. The radio program will boost the capacity of health workers to protect themselves and deliver quality services to communities during this crisis. Koroi Tandalala reports.
The initiative will be beneficial to Fiji and other Pacific Island countries in delivering healthcare services in a COVID-safe manner.
This will benefit all in the 14 countries, and especially the nurses, and as the global data indicates, specifically with the surge and re-emergence of diseases in countries and territories, that a risk somewhere is a risk anywhere. And the presence of communicable disease in one country represents a threat to the entire Pacific Island countries.
This is like a Pacific shield against COVID-19 in the making.
Again, there is no more important investment than investing in your people.
Health Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wanganambete says this program will help nurses as they are the frontline workers and first responders to COVID-19.
Embarking on remodeling exercise of all our services so that we seek to remain relevant in the global shift of healthcare services and its innovation.
The program is part of the United States Agency for International Development's $1.85 million Preventing and Responding to COVID-19 project with UNICEF Pacific, which focuses on reducing human-to-human transmission and mitigating secondary impacts of COVID-19. Koretandolala, FBC News.
The Nandi Fire Station received a timely donation yesterday from 2 businesses. While receiving a generator and a set of conference furniture from Lautoka Auto Mechanic and Alham Smart Living, NFA Chief Executive Paul Sawane says the donation received is huge considering the difficult period businesses are facing in relation to COVID-19. Sawane says the partnership with the private sector will always be vital for the NFA. The total value of the donation is around $10,000.
NFA in terms of our service delivery, and we are trying to deliver our service to the very best of our ability in terms of saving the people's life and also property. We will need the assistance of members of public.
The police force will continue to deploy officers to assist in traffic control during peak hours, says Commissioner Brigadier General Sithiven Ngilio. Ngilio says when Year 12 and 13 students went back to school, the officers managed to identify the gaps. He says this helped them strategize their operations as the rest of the students resumed classes. Ngilio stressed that they will continue to review their traffic operations to ease congestion during peak hours.
We're happy with the way we are postured at the moment, with COVID operations still in progress, and also now that schools have started. Traffic is a big issue that we have to deal with, but it was good that we were able to put our men out there on the ground.
Convincing parents to have their children with disabilities provided with appropriate wheelchairs is a challenge for the Frank Hilton organization. Organization wheelchair technician Chopeli Loma says some parents thought that supplying a wheelchair for their children is a one-day job. However, this is not the case. He says it takes days to fit a child with disabilities to their appropriate wheelchair that suits his or her condition. Liloma says fitting a child to a suitable wheelchair is crucial as it will help their posture, which helps in their everyday living.
When a child is referred to our Frank Hilton organization, it takes 1 to 3 weeks to get the child into a appropriate wheelchair. After the child has been given, goes through the procedure that we have, the 8 steps that we follow. Once the child has a wheelchair, then fitting takes place around 3 to 4 fittings before the exact wheelchair is given to a child.
The Water Authority has discovered that rubbish was blocking a fire hydrant that resulted in water disruptions in Naisongoluvu in the line of Esi Lami. The discovery was made following concerns raised by residents in the area. Water Authority Chief Executive Barry Amundsen says their teams have cleared plastic bottles and other waste from the hydrant to help alleviate the issue. Amundsen is reminding the public to refrain from littering, especially into drainage systems, as it impacts entire communities. The impact of the pandemic on property owners is expected to further dampen property prices in the coming months. Economist Dr. Rohit Kishore says property owners will go through big losses if they reduce the prices drastically and go below the mortgage. Dr. Kishore believes the repayment holiday by the banks has proven positive for the property owners. Meanwhile, the Real B continues to monitor the sales and believes all stakeholders must work together in these trying times.
But if things get worse, then we might see some fire sales and prices going down. But at the moment, the building owners are able to hold it because of this 6 months loan restructuring, buffer being given to them.
Coming up in sports, Sotutu to stay with Blues until 2022, and tough competition in Suva Rugby women's squad.
Pula nadang go approach lang ngarse, go erkraki,
The television on Radio Fiji One, Nandomo
Radio Fiji One, Nandomo Ibiti.
The cancellation of the remaining rounds of the World Seven Series is somewhat a blessing in disguise for the Fijiana Sevens. This gives them more time for injured players to recover and fight for a spot in the final squad ahead of the Olympic Games next year. Tale Matairakula reports.
Head coach Seya Sifuli says they respect the decision made by World Rugby, adding the welfare and safety of everyone involved in the sport remains a priority.
For us, we will stay strong and positive with what we have right now. Just continue with the program, extend our player base and send them to play club rugby and provincial games.
To give players some game time, Fully says they are awaiting to compete in local sevens windows.
The Fiji Rugby Union executives will confirm this once they will gather the support of sponsorship, and hopefully the board will approve the sevens window that was proposed after the Skipper Cup competition. That's more likely from October to March next year, and it's good for the girls to transit from 15s competition and join that sevens window.
Fiji Sevens head coach Gareth Baber is on similar path.
Utilising what we've got here in Fiji, especially the likes of the Skipper Cup, potentially playing some sevens tournaments following that, taking us through to the likes of November, December.
The national men's and women's sevens will participate in the upcoming Skipper Cup on the 25th for their respective teams. Fijiana coach Fully is expected to scout for new blood at the competition. Tali Materkula, FBC Sports.
Fast developing loose forward Hoskins Sotutu will remain at the Blues until at least 2022. The 21-year-old has added a further 2 years to his initial contract after joining the Blues in 2019. Sotutu came through the organisation's development program, playing for Auckland and New Zealand under-20s. Blues coach Leon McDonald says Sotutu has been one of the team's standouts so far this season with a unique skill set. The son of 1999 Flying Fijians Rugby World Cup inside centre Waisake Sotutu has been a standout in Super Rugby this year, with nearly 500 metres in carries, an average of around 50 metres per game, and is currently fourth highest in this part of the game in the Super Rugby Aotearoa statistics. Experienced players in the Super Rugby Union women's team should not rest on their laurels if they wish to earn a final spot in the squad. Head coach Tavaita Rawati says all players, old or new, will have to earn their position in the final squad for the Skipper Cup clash against Nanronga on the 25th. Hooker Ada Danzi says the new players are competing against the experienced players for a final spot in the squad.
They've been training, so there's nothing new about them. Probably they'll gel in with the team. We have new players coming up, so it will be tough as well. Yeah.
A quick look at today's weather map. Expect cloudy periods with some showers and possible thunderstorms over Vanua Levu, Taveuni and northern Lau Group. Showers gradually clearing later tonight. We'll also have cloudy periods with brief showers over the eastern and interior parts of the other larger islands, Lomaiviti and the southern Lau Group. And that is your FBC Morning News. Join us at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. for our major bulletin. Remember, in times of crisis, you need factual news that you can trust. Stop believing fake news about the coronavirus on social media. Fight misinformation by getting only the facts about the COVID-19 from verified news sources like FBC's TV, radio and digital media news. www.fbcnews.com.fj. Keeping Fijians connected with the truth.
Bula, gue minuni mereka-reka untuk teletak di Bula FM, nomor 2 NSR.
Bula FM, nomor 2 NSR.